My roommate is playing this weird joke on me and it's driving me insane. Hello, good people of Reddit. Like the title says, my roommate is driving me insane. Chris and I are both seniors in college and met because we're brothers in the same fraternity, Tau Sigma Pi. Our fraternity is really the only thing we have in common. Chris is the super shy and never gets laid computer geek, and I'm the partier. Despite our differences, we've grown very close over the past 3 years and I know he has my back. I don't want to get too into it, but basically, back in March, my parents were killed in a car accident. I took it pretty hard and ended up in therapy over it. Chris really pulled through and was always there when I needed someone to talk to about it. Which is why it doesn't make sense why he's being so damn crazy right now. It all started Friday. Friday was a great night. We had a party up at the frat castle, everyone was there. Someone even convinced Chris to come out and party for once in his damn life. He brought this girl with him. Susan, I think. Susan was easily a 9 and blonde with curves everywhere, exactly my type. And, well, I have a bit of a reputation as a ladies' man. I swooped in immediately, and 15 minutes later, we were heading back to my place to watch Netflix. As we left, Chris glanced over and saw my arm on Susan, a look of anger struck his face, and I know, I should have just stopped there, but I was too drunk to care. As we stumbled our way home, I mentioned something about being Chris's roommate to Susan out of guilt, but she just gave me a confused look, so I dropped the topic. We hooked up, messaged me for details, and it was awesome. When I woke up hungover the next morning, Susan was gone. I stretched my hand out to the pillow where Susan's head had been, only to feel dampness. I instantly straightened up and was hit with a wave of nausea. My entire room smelled metallic and rancid, like meat left out for a few days. My sheets, hands, everything, really, were covered with a thick brownish red clotted liquid. What the fuck? Hands shaking, I leaped out of bed and into the shower. I watched the strange liquid run from my hands into the drain. After exiting the shower, I threw on a towel, grabbed a garbage bag, and cautiously went back into my room. The wave of nausea hit me again. Holding my breath, I gathered up my blankets and pillows and threw them into the garbage bag. I ran the garbage bag to the curb and returned to my room. The strange substance had seeped into my mattress, the odd brownish red contrasting heavily with the white. What the fuck? I ripped open the door to Chris's room and snatched his sleeping form up by his neck. Chris's eyes fluttered open and he choked, fists raining down on me until I threw him back on the bed. Jesus, man, what the hell? Chris glared at me, confusion and sleep evident on his face. What the fuck did you do to my bed? I snarled. The sleep seemed to drift away, replaced by pure confusion. Damn, he was a good actor. I have no idea what you're talking about. I wasn't buying it. Look! We fuck with each other all the time, but you went too far. I know I shouldn't have taken Susan back, but come on. Whatever the hell you poured on my bed ruined my sheets and probably the mattress too. You need to replace the shit you ruined. Chris continued to deny doing anything and shooed me out of his room. I was still pretty pissed at him, so we didn't really talk or interact for a few days. I slept on the couch to avoid the disgusting mattress. Now, I've been around Reddit long enough to know that the usual pieces of advice are talk to the other person, tried that, didn't go very well, break up, not applicable, and talk to a professional. As I mentioned earlier, I've been seeing a therapist since March, so I figured I might as well bring it up during a session. The next session I had scheduled with Dr. Oken was on Monday. As soon as I sat down, something seemed wrong. I've always thought of Dr. Oken as, well, an oak tree, partially from her name, partially from how she always seems so steady and serene. Today, however, her thin hands shook as she tucked a strand of blonde hair behind her ear and greeted me. Green Caros, I'm so sorry to hear about Susan. Dr. Oken gave me a half smile. I blinked back, confused. Susan? The girl I hooked up with Friday? This was weird. Dr. Oaken's eyes widened slightly. You haven't seen the news? I shook my head. Dr. Oaken leaned forward. I'm so sorry to be the one to tell you, Susan went to a party at Tau Sigma Pi on Friday and hasn't been heard from since. It's been all over the news. I thought you knew. I stared back, not comprehending. Shit. Wait, is Susan a blonde? I might have seen her on Friday, oh god. If the Susan that disappeared was the one I hooked up with, that would be too weird. Dr. Oaken continued to give me a confused look. Susan Lahine went missing. Susan Lahine, your girlfriend of 2 years. My girlfriend of 2 years? What? I choked out. My mind completely shut down. The therapist shifted nervously in her seat before grabbing her clipboard and flipping back a page. During our last meeting on Friday, you spoke about how you and Susan had been fighting. You were angry and worried that she was going to leave you. That's what you told me. What the hell was going on? I don't have a girlfriend. I only talked to Susan that one night. In my confused state of mind, the only answer that made any sense floated to the top. Chris did this, didn't he? He put you up to this? He paid you or something to mess with me? I hurled the accusation at her, muscles flexing, body coming back alive. That asshole had gone way too far. Chris? Dr. Oaken frowned, then something in her eyes shifted. She flipped through her clipboard. Chris Geraldson? Something about the way she said his name seemed to suggest she didn't sit well with it. Yes. My roommate. I frowned at her. The color drained from Dr. Oaken's face. Her entire body seized up as if a bolt of lightning had struck her. Chris Geraldson died 2 years ago during one of your fraternity's rituals. The cause of death was never determined. You were roommates, but you've lived alone since his death. Her voice was matter of fact, but her eyes suddenly drifted to a spot on my shirt. She stiffened even more, met my eyes, and then glanced back at my shirt. I glanced down as well. A brownish red spot stuck out, the same brownish red whatever that Chris dumped on my bed. I looked back up to meet her eyes. I think we're done for today, she muttered, a cold edge in her voice, before leaving the room. I pulled out my phone to check the time. We still had 45 minutes left and my phone's background was a picture of me with my arm wrapped around Susan. Numbly, I heard Dr. Oaken's frantic instructions to the receptionist, call the police, lock the door, he's still in shock right now. Everything slid into autopilot mode. I jumped out and lowered myself out the window, hit the ground running. I ran the entire way back to my apartment with only one thought on my mind: how the fuck did Chris manage to pull this off? Intent on confronting Chris again, I yanked open the apartment door and was once again hit with the same wave of nausea, only stronger this time. Holding my breath, I made my way to my room. The room was far worse off than I remembered. The brownish red was splattered everywhere, decorating the room in a sick sort of way. The worst of the stench came from my closet. I picked up a clean shirt and held it to my nose to filter out some of the smell. Muscles tensed in anticipation, I slowly opened the closet door. And shut it immediately, the smell filling the air and overpowering me. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Oh God. The rotten flesh, the brownish red dried blood, the blonde hair. Susan's bloated corpse was stuffed in my closet. So I ask you now, Reddit, how do I convince my crazy roommate to stop playing this out-of-control joke on me? Please hurry, because I think the police will be here soon to arrest me for murder. Update. Hi Reddit. My name is Chris, and I'm nearing the end of my sophomore year of college and feeling pretty good about everything, with one exception. I'm a brother of Tau Sigma Pi, and so is my roommate, Jack. Our fraternity is really the only thing we have in common. I'm the super shy computer geek and Jack is the partier. I would have preferred not to room with Jack, but Jack and I are Tau brothers. Basically, the fraternity assigns you someone in your pledge class that you have to live with sophomore year. Ever since the pig incident, something about Jack has always bothered me. When we were going through the pledge process our freshman year, the fraternity made us raise a pet pig and take care of it. We all knew what was coming, and everyone felt a general sense of unease when it was their turn to have the pig. Not Jack. He loved that pig and looked forward to taking care of it every week. When the pledge master told our whole pledge class to come to the frat house for one final pig assignment, all 40 of us begrudgingly showed up in our suits, as per the custom. We shuffled into the dark, unfinished basement of the house, quietly cracking jokes to mask our nerves. The class pig sat tied up at one end of the basement, sleeping undisturbed. Our pledge master held a long, curved knife. Your final pig assignment is to make bacon for all of the active brothers in the house. Whoever carves the pig automatically gets their signatures. The strangest part wasn't that Jack immediately stepped up while the rest of us hid our faces and prayed we wouldn't get picked. It wasn't watching Jack creep over to the sleeping pig we had all cared for over the past few months, or the pig's squeals as the knife pierced its skin, or the muted silence after it choked to death on its own blood spewing from its throat. It was the concentrated, indifferent look on Jack's face as drops of blood splattered on his face and suit, the way he absent-mindedly stepped in the blood pooling on the floor rather than around it. As our other brothers cheered and the pledge master declared him the top pledge, all I could think was, he loved that pig. I didn't bring it to him up until the final party of our freshman year. We were drunk, as we usually were during frat parties, when I saw a brownish red stain on Jack's shoe. My mind instantly went back to that night. Jack, were you raised on a farm? What? He slurred back. Jack was half listening to me, half eyeing a group of girls who had just walked in. He sipped from his beer, and for a second, I saw what everyone else saw, a charming, handsome frat boy admired by his peers. But his face from that night, the pure indifference as he watched the pig die by his hands, appeared in my mind. The way you killed that pig, you had to have killed before. You were so calm. The only thing I can think of is that you were raised on a farm and have slaughtered pigs your whole life. It's just weird. Jack broke eye contact with the girls and suddenly swung around to face me. His expressionless eyes seemed to flash in the dim-lit house, and for a second, I wondered if this was the last thing the pigs saw that night. Jack laughed and he looked like a normal frat boy again. Dude, relax. It was just pledging. You need to get laid. He patted me on the back and drunkenly sashayed over to the group of girls he had been eyeing. Despite his words, I wondered why he was the only one to step forward so eagerly to take a life. I lost track of Jack after that and ended up crashing on a couch at the frat castle. When I woke up the next morning, my phone had 43 notifications from our Tau Sigma Pi group. Someone had posted a picture of Jack from last night's party mid-makeout with a blonde girl. I looked closer. The girl was Susan. Susan Lahine. My girlfriend of 2 years. What the fuck? Something inside me cracked. I knew exactly where in the frat house he lived and without thinking, raced up to his room. The image of that psycho on my girlfriend made me sick. How the hell could they do this to me? I ripped open the door to Jack's room and snatched his sleeping form up by his neck. Jack's eyes fluttered open and he choked, fists raining down on me until I threw him back on the bed. Jesus, man, what the hell? Jack glared at me, confusion and sleep evident on his face. What the fuck is wrong with you? I snarled. The sleep seemed to drift away, replaced by pure confusion. Damn, he was a good actor. I have no idea what you're talking about. I had seen the picture and refused to buy his crap. You fucking kissed my girlfriend. You goddamn asshole. Jack mussed up his hair and gave me a confused look. Girlfriend? Dude, you don't have a girlfriend. Fuck off, Jack. You know Susan is my girlfriend. I couldn't believe he had the balls to deny it to my face. The confusion dropped from his face. He straightened up and looked mildly concerned. His voice dropped lower to what he probably meant as a calming tone, but just irritated me. Chris, we've been over this. She isn't your girlfriend. You just have to let it go, man. I leaped forward and punched Jack in the face. Cursing, he immediately threw me off. Look, Chris, if you don't get it together, you're going to get the theta. He rubbed his jaw, but didn't punch me back. Jack's eyes, cool and calculating, seemed to darken. You don't want that. Unable to listen to his insanity anymore, I ran out and slammed the door. My plan was to ignore Jack for the rest of the college until I received an email from the frat president over the summer that listed the Tao brother pairings. Sure enough, I was paired with fucking Jack. Susan and I made up over the summer, but I still hated Jack for what he did and found him creepy. I avoided and ignored him for most of sophomore year the best I could, but the Tao ritual is coming up, and I won't be able to avoid him then. This is the part one need advice on. At the end of the school year, all sophomore complete the Tao ritual, juniors complete the Sigma ritual, and seniors complete the Pi ritual. All I know about the Tao ritual is that it's a weekend-long ritual and you complete most of it with your Tao brother. On the third floor of the frat house, where no one but brothers are allowed, is the Tao room. There are 2 pictures of every class that went through the Tao ritual since cameras were invented. Although the years and styles and faces change, the pictures are essentially the same. The first picture is a before picture, the brothers, nervous and excited and scared, trying to look tough and imposing. Their right firsts, decorated with a Tao symbol, are held over their hearts. In the after picture, both of their fists are held in the air and proudly display a Tao. However, every so often, perhaps once every decade or two, one brother in the before picture has a theta symbol on his fist instead of the Tao. In some pictures, they look alarmed, as if dreading something. Others with the theta look resigned and their eyes don't quite meet the camera. In all of the after pictures, the brothers with the theta are absent. Look, Chris, if you don't get it together, you're going to get the theta. As we get closer and closer to the Tao ritual, my mind keeps wandering back to that sentence and the cool look in his eye. I remember him stepping forward to slaughter the pig, his indifference as blood stained the suit he wore to Sunday church. My question to you, Reddit, is should I be worried that something is going to happen to me or am I just being paranoid? Please hurry, because I think my roommate might kill me at the Tao ritual.